I'm DDK, the GM of 100 Thieves Valorant, here with Coach Mike's, and we're hard at work here in this off season. We've been undergoing the initial process of reflecting on the roster the last 6 months. What do we want to do with the opportunities that are laid out in front of us here with this crazy roster madness situation as we look to go into franchising. So we're super excited to have signed Cryo. I think for everyone in the community, the expectation was that we'd have our sights set on Yay or Cryo. And I think actually the public perception is that we got Cryo because we couldn't get Yay. And although both players, I think, would make an incredible addition, whichever way you went, Cryo for us, I think we felt like was the best fit. We are very excited about regarding Cryo's skill sets. It's just, he's a player that can just instantly react, has a very, very high mechanical skill ceiling. And I think, we're looking for that increased pace in that position. I think that's going to allow us to do a lot more with the team. I think that's going to be a huge trickle-down effect with someone of his skill and his pacing that I think the other players on the roster will find a lot of comfort playing around and a lot more opportunities to play around as well. For me, at least, that's what I'm most excited about. I don't know if your answer's different, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting overall because coming out of the Chamber meta, everyone's just been playing Chamber. He's had a little bit of a mix-up though, because he's been playing an equal amount of Jet, at least on some maps. But we feel like we can help him improve his agent pool a lot. He's already started to work on that. So I think, again, that's kind of our philosophy behind the rosters. We want to make sure we're as flexible as possible. We can play any meta, and there's no real gaps in our team going into any meta.
So I think it was very sad for everybody at the team that we decided to move away from Will. And I think that, Will, it's not as if it was really a performance issue for Will. He got better and better every single month, and he proved everybody wrong. And there's not too many players that can actually do that with the kind of pressure that he had. And I think there's a huge ceiling for him to still explore and to grow. And I think he should be on a franchise team. I think he's that good. I think role-wise though, it just wasn't quite the fit for what we were looking for with regards to the team. I think again, Cryo was a player that comes with everything that we're looking for, like right now. Looking forward, I feel like the ceiling's really, really high for the roster that we have. And a lot of the intangibles that people don't see on the stat sheet, that's something that to us is extremely important. Like, you can make these superstar teams like Mike said, but is the culture fit going to be there, the team fit? Are the players going to be able to work well together? Because there's so much that goes into the preparation that's extremely important and a huge indicator towards success. So I'm pretty confident, given where we are able to kind of move with this roster, that we have some of the most talented players for each of the positions. Bang is a good example here. He's a player that made this role switch when we first made this team, and suddenly, within the 5-6 month period, has become, in the conversation for maybe best of his role in North America at the very least, when 6 months ago no one would put him in the top 10 probably. For me, the franchising is an interesting opportunity because we'll get the stability, I think, in the system, the system of professional Valorant that we didn't really have quite before. Like, when we built our roster initially, I felt like we were basically playing in the competitive mode for like 6 months, like execution mode, and we didn't really have the kind of natural ebb and flow of like, here's an off season, here's a period for recovery, here's a period we can put in some new systems and tweak stuff. It was just kind of like fight or flight mode. I feel like we said we wanted to make this dominant team like the Astralis of Valorant, and I think that having this time to have off seasons where we can prepare things, we can set stuff up, we can work with the players in between competition time.
The cool aspect for me from the competition standpoint is having the LATAM and Brazil teams here. I say Leviathan because I'm American, and I don't know any better. Yeah, and Loud, I think having both of them here competing, and Crew as well. Obviously, we don't know off-season wise, like if any changes are going to be made anywhere. Don't really have any touch on those regions, but I think that should overall bring the competition up to another level. I think that should really push the NA teams as well pretty hard. So I think overall that aspect is good.
I think a really big focus for us in this off season is making sure that we're set up for success, right? It's all this time that you have that we didn't have before to put in some frameworks for the players. We've noticed a lot of stuff over the last 6 months as to how the day-to-day looks, what's working, what's not working. So now we get this opportunity to make that more optimal, and we get the opportunity to decide how to build the culture that's going to last, hopefully, for many, many, many years to come on this team. And that's the position we're in now. We get the time to do it, and we've learned enough about how the processes work with the players in the day-to-day, so we can kind of look at that and see, okay, we think these things are going to work. We think that encouraging these attributes through the systems that we create, through the standards that we have on the team, that these are going to be the things that then create the best performing team in the league and the world. That's one of the biggest focuses, on top of making sure that everything is optimized in terms of who's doing what, who has what strengths, how could we better place them to succeed in the structure of the team.
I would say as well, I know, like you said, everyone just wants to put together the cool rosters. That's the most fun thing to talk about, who's going where, all the leagues. One thing that we've been working a lot on is our analytic tools with Tim and then Nathan and Joseph from the league team. Tim is our director of analytics, so they're gonna make my life a whole lot easier in terms of coaching, in terms of the tools that we can actually use to help develop our players, come up with strategies going into games, how we prep for opponents. So all that stuff, while it sounds pretty boring to most people, is gonna make life a lot easier and should make us a lot better.
Yeah, it's a really great point. I think the talent development thing is actually the second thing I'm most excited about, because again, when we're in season and we're competing constantly, you can't make some of the more significant changes or you can't address some of the more significant things. It's just not really the space to realistically do it. So this is another opportunity where we can say, okay, these are the issues that we saw, and this is how much better we think we can make or help these players to become over this period of time. And I think that is another big difference maker, is what you can do with your talent. Because the alternative, if you can't develop your talent in the off seasons or encourage that in the correct ways, is then you're eventually going to have to make roster changes, most likely. So having that balance, or having the space to have that balance where you do get to put the appropriate time into that, I think is very exciting as well.
Yeah, and I think overall I'm not worried at all. I think the support the org will have for them is going to be world class. I think being in person here, especially at the compound, is just going to be so great. All of our greatest growth overall has come from being in person, being at boot camps, whether that was in Dallas or even in Istanbul with all the circumstances. But I think the days of practicing online remotely are just over in terms of if you actually want to compete at the top level. I think all the guys are going to have a lot of fun being here. So
yeah, I think from a performance perspective, it raises a new opportunity too, because you get the opportunity to kind of have more integrated processes. All of our resources here under these, the experts that we can bring in to help the players in those capacities will be a lot easier to integrate. So that's also exciting.
Yeah, I think ultimately the immediate goal is be able to go out and be the best team in the Americas region at the start of the year. I think that's overall the biggest thing we can start with, and then talk about, obviously the end goal is to win champs at the end of the year. But in a small to large process, that's kind of the immediate goal. I think people don't really have a good perspective on how good our team is, because we played stage 2, we were still developing. I know we play LCQ and we win it, but there's always going to be that asterisk because Optic and Exit weren't there. So you can never be claimed the best NA team at any point. So I think that's something next year, that's the immediate goal. Come out of this offseason, be the best Americas team, and then move on to champs after that.
Thank you to all of you that have supported us, all the fans in the 100 Thieves family. It's been really amazing kind of being on this journey with you, and I'm really looking forward to being able to set new goals with you guys this year. And I think that your continued support it serves as the lifeblood of what we do, and it's something that we always really appreciate. And I hope that we can really impress you this year with what we have coming.